So, you know how when people use the term woke to describe literally anything they dislike, they're using it because they don't actually know what it means, but they heard the right-wing establishment media use it, and they figured, you know what, this is a good word to insult people on the left. Yeah, you know that? Well, a Liberal MP asked Pierre Poilievre to define the term woke, and this is what he had to say.
And I wonder if you would like to kind of backtrack or apologize on characterizing the CRTC as a small group of privileged insiders closest to the Prime Minister. And I would also ask him if he would like to define the word woke. I asked one of his colleagues as well for that definition, and I'd like to see what he has to say. Thank you.
Leader of the Opposition.
Actually, I will backtrack. It is a big group of insiders, Madam Speaker. It is a big, sprawling bureaucracy with far too many people working for it. There will be less people working for the CRTC when I'm Prime Minister because they'll have less power and they'll have a hell of a lot less to do when I restore freedom of speech and freedom of expression online and on the Internet. And as for the definition of woke, woke has one purpose, only one purpose. Plenty of pretexts, but only one purpose: control. It is designed to divide people by race, by gender, by ethnicity, by religion, by vaccine status, and any other way that they can divide people into groups. Because why? Then you can justify having a government to control all those groups. No more woke. We need freedom.
Welcome to Orange Wave, your source for everything related to the NDP. I am your host, Will Adams. Pierre Poilievre seems to believe that everything he disagrees with is woke, and as such, we are going to talk about many different things he's been saying and doing recently, so that way we can come to the conclusion to a question I've been trying to answer. What exactly is Pierre Poilievre up to right now?
Poilievre, I want to pivot for a moment and chat with you about your private member's bill on bail reform. We've heard a number of officials talk about this here in the city of Toronto for some time. Premier Ford saying last week, don't vote for a mayoral candidate that says defund the police. Do you support that?
I think defund the police is an idiotic idea put forward by wealthy and privileged liberal woke elites who live in gated neighborhoods and are protected from crime. Our police, we need more police. We need stronger support for our police. Conservatives will back up our cops, and we will stand up to any idiotic suggestion of defunding the police. Secondly, we're going to get rid of the catch and release liberal NDP bail and parole policies. Justin Trudeau has unleashed a crime wave like we have never seen in this country by releasing the repeat violent offenders into our streets to offend again and again and again. We've seen these brutal killings on the TTC transit station, people being stabbed in broad daylight, and most of the time by repeat violent offenders that Justin Trudeau let out early on bail because of his changes to the criminal code. I'll bring in jail, not bail. Jail, not bail for repeat violent offenders. We'll end early parole for repeat offenders. And I'll ban hard drugs and stop using tax money to hand them out. Finally, I'm going to sue big pharma companies to make them pay the full price of the rehabilitation and drug treatment program that is going to be needed to undo the crisis that they caused by flooding our healthcare system with opioids.
That was Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre grifting on a racist wedge issue while also trying to pretend like he is the NDP. For those unaware, the Defund the Police slogan became prevalent in 2020 when George Floyd was murdered in the streets by a cop for using a counterfeit $20 bill. He had a boot on his neck for a good 10 minutes or more, and he suffocated to death. To put the record straight, when people say defund the police, they don't actually mean literally defund all police stations. What they actually mean is hold police accountable when they do bad things, and particularly in ways that may affect their bottom line. Poilievre is irresponsibly misleading people into believing that police accountability is, quote, woke nonsense. Furthermore, it is contradictory to want a, quote, hard-on-crime policy and to want to help addicts. In hard-on-crime areas, the drug addicts get the hard sentences, even if they didn't do anything under the influence besides being high. That is unjustifiable. A drug addict should not get more time in jail than a murderer or serial rapist. But if Poilievre was PM, that would be a reality. We'd be living in a Canada where justice is based on what the right-wing agenda believes is right. Drug addicts should not spend a single second in jail if they didn't commit any crimes under the influence. It is not only known to perpetuate addiction, but it also makes so many tax dollars go to people who didn't, to keep people in jail who didn't actually do anything wrong. Poilievre has this wrong in more ways too. Poilievre clearly wants crime to get lowered because it is a very real problem that we've been facing. There was a stabbing that happened recently. Actually, there's been multiple stabbings. But Pierre, he's got it all wrong. You can't stop crime in a meaningful way without dealing with the issues that actually cause normal people to turn to crime to begin with. For example, Canada before the Harper government had a social program designed around keeping youth out of gangs and keeping them away from crime in general, and offering them constructive life strategies so they could grow up and become great members of society. It was an effective program that lowered youth crime rates, and the cons gutted it when they got the chance to. You know for a fact that Poilievre is firmly against social programs. Hell, he's even admitted it himself. And you know for a fact he's not going to introduce a program that will actually help people because apparently that's a handout. If you want to deal with crime in a meaningful level, you need to stop being harsh and having that mentality, and you need to be compassionate to others.
I walk to Burger King, then I walk back home from Burger King.
Poilievre took to social media recently to talk about the gift of adoption, and looking at what happened in America, you know whenever politicians do that, that it is a massive red flag. This comes directly from his Twitter page. Take a listen.
So what this bill will do, this benefit, will actually give parents, whether they're adoptive parents, surrogate parents, the ability and the opportunity to have that 15 weeks, which would not affect the birth mother that would be using the maternity leave benefit.
Right. So basically, you want to line it up here. Whether you're an adoptive family or you're raising your own biological child, you should have the same time
Absolutely.
off. To help attach with the newborn.
Especially when parents are already paying into EI.
Right.
They should have that opportunity for parity within the benefit landscape.
That's amazing. And think about it, there are many loving homes that want to adopt a child, but it's a struggle when you bring a child into the home and you only have a short period of time to attach and help that child for the first year. It's not easy to do, but we need to encourage adoption, champion adoption. It's one of the most beautiful gifts anyone can give. In fact, the greatest gift I've ever been given was for my parents to adopt me. And you're making it possible for more parents to do that. So thank you very much. And any closing message to the Canadian people about this great plan?
Yeah, for sure. So the Liberals have said now for years, actually since before COVID, that they wanted to reform EI.
Yeah.
And it's actually, this specific benefit has been in minister mandate letters in 2019 and 2021. Obviously, EI reform is not a priority for the Trudeau Liberals, or else it would be done already. So even though they may have buzzwords, until the ink hits the paper, do we know that it's actually happening?
They haven't brought it home. And if you want to bring home a beautiful baby girl or boy to adopt into your family, give them a wonderful start at life, we think you should have the same benefits that biological parents have to connect, to start that little child off just right. And thank you very much for doing that. It's a great cause, one close to my heart, and I think thousands of other Canadians as well. Let's bring it home for families, bring it home for newborns, let's bring it home for Canadians.
That's fantastic, right? Making it easier to adopt children. Well, what about the over 40,000 children in Canada who, due to a wide array of factors, do not have a home that they can call their own? They don't have a loving family. Why does this bill not involve them in any way? Why does it only involve newborns? This clip from the CPC leadership debate, the first one, I think it adds perfect context as to why Poilievre decided not to endorse something that would have added something like that.
I am pro-choice. And my government would not bring in legislation or support legislation to change or to restrain the rights of women. The situation we have now is what we should maintain. And that is a very clear. They're all candidates except one on this stage has stated their position on this.
Mr. Aitchison.
I will always defend a woman's right to her personal reproductive health choices, period. Always.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Brown.
I'm pro-choice. I support a woman's right to choose, and any government that I lead would not revisit this issue.
And Mr. Poilievre.
A Poilievre government would not introduce or pass legislation restricting abortion.
And Mr. Poilievre talked about social conservatives. Let's talk about that. He still won't tell you his position of whether he is pro-choice or pro-life. I respect social conservatives. They will always have a place in our party. They are good people, faith-based people who deserve a place at the table and in the family.
Mr. Poilievre, 45.
I believe in freedom of choice on that issue. I already said that at the very beginning. So I don't know what you missed. I don't know if you were listening. Yes, it is. That's what I said. But Mr. Charest, why didn't you take a moment to acknowledge that you're the only one on this stage who actually voted for a law that would recriminalize abortion when you were part of the Mulroney government? You did. And you can take a moment now to renounce your earlier vote if you've changed your mind, but that was your position. You seem to have forgotten it.
When you add in the context that Poilievre recently stated that freedom of expression is a, quote, God-given right, you realize a pattern here. Pierre should not be saying things of the such. God did not give Canadians their rights to freedom of expression. The Charter of Rights and Freedom is what gave Canadians their rights to freedom of expression and fought in association. Church and state should be firmly separate. The majority of Canadians agree with that. 30% of Canadians are atheist, and Poilievre is treading on a very thin line when he says stuff like that. Think about it like this. Pierre Poilievre parrots Donald Trump in so many ways. Both are also crass and vile. Both like supporting violent raids in their capitals, claiming the terrorists responsible as patriotic and freedom-loving, despite violating many laws in the process. With that taken into consideration, it is becoming abundantly clear that Poilievre, like Trump, wants to lead a Christo-fascist state, one where Canadians have their lives dictated by the opinions of the radical few, and where their rights are stripped because they don't conform to the radical right's vision of the status quo. Canadians are starting to wake up and notice this, and it is about time we put Mr. Poilievre and the right-wing establishment media in their place before it is too late. Thank you for listening to this episode of Orange Wave. I am your host, Will Adams. I hope you have an amazing day, and remember, Jagmeet Singh loves you.